Welcome back to Gentle Growth with Ivy. As always, this is Ivy, and today we have special guest Emma with us. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, Ivy. Thanks for having me. I am Emma Kobil, and I am a business coach for adventurous women therapists who want to create online self-pay private practices and travel the world. And I'm also a licensed professional counselor, and I spend my time in Mexico and in Denver and kind of all over.
Wow, so you get to travel a little bit of everywhere and you got the experience that you're teaching. I love that.
Yes. Yep. I love it.
Awesome. And what got you started here?
Yeah, so I have been a therapist for many years, working with my ideal clients who are women with kind of anxiety, self-worth, insomnia, stuff coming up for them. And I get to use, parts work and EMDR, and it's very, very fulfilling. And I've attracted my soulmate ideal clients into my private practice. And I realized that, travel was a really, really important part of my value system. It's something I
Mhm.
always really, really wanted to be able to do, was to be more mobile. I would look at like digital nomads and, think about how jealous I was
Yeah.
of them. So I had built this great private practice. And then when COVID hit, I was able to go online and sort of take my practice with me. And I then realized that I wanted to kind of travel, and I can go kind of more into that if you'd like me
Mhm.
to. But
Oh, absolutely.
it's been a long road and a long journey. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And you have that passion. You said it sounds like for you, like you just want to travel. And a lot of people see that as kind of like an extracurricular that they might be able to do once a year at most.
Yes,
So
totally.
to intertwine that into your work and still be successful is living the dream.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's been a really cool journey. I'll start out and say, like, it wasn't always this way. My career has kind of taken some different turns, twists and turns throughout. I started out, actually, I was in philosophy grad school, was my
Hmm.
first endeavor that I was doing, and thought I wanted to be a professor. But I experienced like some kind of disillusionment in that field, as well as some major heartbreak, and realized I really wanted to. Yes, I had the ending of a 9-year relationship, and realized I
Oh.
really wanted to help people, and I wanted
Hmm.
to connect on a soul level with other people's pain. And I had all this
Hmm.
compassion for other people that I know you can relate to that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm sitting here relating.
yeah, yeah. But I really wanted to be able to, just to give back in this very direct, open, vulnerable way that philosophy wasn't really allowing me to do. So
Yeah.
I became a licensed professional counselor. And I mean, it was one of the best decisions of my life to do that. But many of the jobs I worked after I got, out of grad school and then eventually got my licensed were incredibly soul crushing and
Oh.
incredibly limiting.
Hmm.
So I, made the transition into private practice after that. But yes, it was quite a journey of, there was a lot that went into being able to start a private practice, a lot of like imposter syndrome I had to overcome, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of feelings of like guilt, or like that I wasn't, helping the people who needed me the most, or
Hmm.
something like that, that went into it. And also like feelings around money, and like, is it dirty or bad to be
Mm-hmm.
making money and having like a secure income? And also a lot of thoughts and feelings of like, can I do this? Which is what, the people I work with who are starting private practices also experience.
Hmm.
So I think entrepreneurship always comes with that. And it forces us to grow in all the
Mhm.
ways we don't know that there are these growth edges there,
Yeah.
that it really opens us up to.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I've had several like new coaches on here, and I feel like almost every single person has mentioned imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
and that's something that affected and it occasionally affects me now.
Yeah.
um what really helped me in that area was whenever I discovered that being a coach, which is what I am, I know you're a counselor as well,
Yeah.
all it really takes and what benefits a lot of people is just being a few steps ahead
Yeah.
of where someone is, and just being, you don't have to be their end goal, you just
Mm,
have to be somewhere in their goal.
totally.
um and that's been really helpful because me as a mental health coach, and now I've decided to add on holistic wellness on there as well, I'm having a really hard time with putting a title on exactly what it is that I do.
Yeah.
um but I'm still, I'm doing the same thing. I'm helping people from my own experience and my own learning.
Yeah.
And I want to do it in more of like a holistic way and not so much of sitting someone down and diagnosing them and prescribing them medication.
Oh,
Um,
couldn't be more on board with you.
right.
This is why,
Yeah,
private practice
it's
has
huge.
been such an amazing journey for me, because
Mm-hmm.
without insurance, I don't need to diagnose clients. I get to
Mm-mm.
pitch the diagnoses, which is the best.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and part of why, like, I've really been so passionate about helping other really soulful therapists who
Mm-hmm.
are, authentic and want to have a life and want to have boundaries, and also really value being able to treat clients, in a way that feels aligned with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of what has inspired me on this venture of, helping those therapists
Yes,
build and
and
scale private practices. Yeah.
absolutely. And like something really beautiful about having a private practice is the individuality that you get to bring and nurture at the same time.
Yes.
Because I know I used to be a home health aide,
Hmm.
and I owned my own business as a home health aide, but all of my billing came from Medicaid.
Mm.
So there was a lot of paperwork
Oh my
and a lot of things that you had to do just because you had to do it.
God.
It wasn't necessarily beneficial to you as a provider or beneficial to the person that you were providing care for. You just had to do it because that's what a paper said that you had to do. Um, and the beautiful part about doing your own private practice is you get to see these people for who they are as an individual, not
Mhm.
just as a client, not just as someone that you have to fit into these categories on your forms. You get to see them for them, and you get to give yourself to them as you,
Yes.
not as what the papers are telling you to do. You're not doing session one laid out in the specific way because so and so says that you have to do it. You're doing session one led by your client, the person that you're helping. And that's something that I really like about the private practice because, yeah, I get to really get individual with not only myself, but with the people as well.
100%. And I can tell you really get it, because
Mm-hmm.
that is the beautiful thing. Like, there's no limit if you're not using insurance in private practice, which is what
Mm-hmm.
I teach people to do, which is a little different because there's, a little more marketing involved with that,
Mm-hmm.
and a little more strategy. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're not using insurance, you can, kind of you can follow your intuition, I think, a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need there's no limit on the number of sessions you can
Mm-hmm.
have with a client. You can use techniques that aren't, the ones recognized by the insurance companies.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when that calls to you,
Mm-hmm.
don't have to put a diagnosis on someone where it doesn't fit. You can meet with someone as long as you need for different amounts of time within the session, or
Mm-hmm.
like, it's just complete freedom.
Mm-hmm.
um, And it's financially allows you to actually support yourself and not be spending a ton of time on the phone with insurance companies or having them claw back money from you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been a dream. And it's, I mean, all of this, like I would say, Ivy, has been everything I've done throughout, growing my business has been terrifying.
Yeah.
It's been,
I'm right there.
oh my God.
Yep.
Like, first of all, I'm going to go into private practice and I can tell you a little more about that journey.
Yeah.
Secondly, like, I'm going to go off insurance panels, which was later,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't think it needs to be for everyone. You can start a private practice without taking insurance,
Mm-hmm.
which I now, teach people how to do. But when I did that, I was terrified. I would lose all my clients. And with learning about marketing and also kind of mindset stuff, like that did not
Mm-hmm.
happen. And my business made more than it ever did. I was really
That's awesome.
successful. I was able to, take off and travel and have this lifestyle that's really,
Mm-hmm.
really wonderful. So yeah,
I
I
love that for you.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
want that for other women therapists who are kind of in my scenario because, there are a lot of private practice coaches, but I think that, oftentimes they're teaching people how to take insurance or how to like kind of build a brick and mortar office that you're
Mm-hmm.
staying in. And I just want people to get to experience kind of this freedom and autonomy that
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to experience. So
Yeah, that's really, really great.
yeah.
I had something I was going to add in there and I totally forgot. Oh yeah, I am still in like the scary part because I've
Mm,
invested a lot. Um, and I don't have any clients yet.
mm,
I feel like it's coming,
yeah, yeah,
it's coming. I know that I have like the skills, and I have the means,
yeah,
but we're still working there, and it is really, really hard when we live in this society where a lot of the times we put a value, a number value to how much we should be getting for every hour of work that we've put in.
yes.
Um, and even more so, if you're putting money into it as well, you expect a larger return and you expect it rather quickly.
Oh, totally.
um,
Yes.
and doing this, it is the opposite.
Mm,
I've put in hundreds of hours of work already,
yeah.
and I've only been doing it a few months, but I'm definitely working more than 9 to 5 Monday through Friday.
Mhm.
And I've put in a couple thousand already, and I haven't seen anything back, and it's scary.
Yeah.
And it does, I coach on mental health, and even that in itself is hard on your mental health, because you're like, this isn't sustainable right now.
Mhm, mhm.
We got to do something else to get things moving. But yeah, I really resonated with that, the scary feeling.
Oh,
But
100%. Yeah.
yeah, but I know once it gets to growing, um, it's going to be so fulfilling, and not just money wise, because money wise is pretty much the only place I'm lacking right now, because
Mhm.
the feedback that I'm getting, the conversations that I'm having with people has been like so nurturing to like my soul, the
Yes.
connections to the people I've touched so many lives already. And even with my podcast, it's free, so anybody can listen to it. And I've had thousands of people, come across my name and listen to parts of my podcast already. So like I know I'm making an impact. I just need that impact to start going to my wallet a little bit. But
Totally, totally
but
agree.
a long time ago I heard, whatever you do in life for work,
Mhm.
make sure that it's something that you are willing to do for free,
Mm,
because whenever you do get paid for it, like you're going to be so grateful for that pay.
yeah,
Whereas if you're working something that you cannot stand, you absolutely hate, like the money isn't all that great,
totally. Yeah.
even if it is a lot. There's a lot of people out there that are really miserable in their lives. I mean, there's miserable millionaires out there, so money is not the root to all happiness.
Yes. Yes.
um
Totally.
yeah, so I love this, platform, that I'm building, and even though I'm investing a lot of time and money into it, I'm getting a lot of like emotional feedback from it that's out of this world. It's been really great.
I'm so happy for you. That's really awesome. And I think
Yeah.
so much of entrepreneurship is kind of like, that, yeah, I don't know, that we don't know about oftentimes.
Hmm.
We hear it, like people say it, but I do think there is this like putting one foot in front of the other, like setting your mind and body like toward your intention, and
Hmm.
then kind of letting the things happen. Like there's a certain amount of like letting go that has to happen.
Hmm.
Like there's strategy, and that's really important. And that's what I teach. And then there is a like letting the universe, letting
Hmm.
things happen,
Yeah.
as you're showing up as with all the things that you stand for and
Hmm.
according to your values, and trusting that like you're going to keep adapting and growing and learning and figuring stuff out, and
Hmm.
that your soulmate clients are going to find you as you continue to show up and be brave and, share your story and be authentic. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, really live into your truth and into your, empowered self.
Yes.
So yeah, so I think that that's awesome. It sounds like you are doing that and you're on the road. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, and it's like a matter of it taking some time and
Hmm.
for people hearing you.
Yep. I love Cameron Rosin. I feel like I talk about him too much, but I got to give credit to where it's due.
Mm-hmm.
But one of his first podcast episodes, he said to do things without expectation,
Yeah.
do it with intention. So
Mm,
put intention into the work that you're doing, but leave the expectations to the side.
yeah.
Um, and that you're going to find, like a true happiness in the work that you're doing with that. And I feel like in the beginning of starting any business, I think that's so valuable because you have to have intention in the work that you're doing. And
Yeah.
you put everything out with intention of, helping people and building your business, and things like that. But you have to set aside the expectation of getting paid. That's
Yeah.
been really big for me.
Yeah.
And then also like the expectation of, oh, I'm going to post this video and it's going to get 1,000 views and 100 likes or something,
Right.
things like that. Just make your content. This is what I've had to do myself, is just make the content, put in the intention of helping someone.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be 1,000 people, it can be just one. Just that one view isn't that bad if that one viewer, it's truly touching their soul, and it's adding on to that, the fact that you are a valuable person in this area.
Right. Right.
um
A
so
hundred.
yeah, just letting go of expectations
Yeah.
has really been helpful.
That's something, that therapists I work with, that's a part of it, is like kind of doing that mindset, work around like, letting go of the expectation, and,
Hmm.
just kind of doing like, again, taking the steps and then letting go, and like actually
Hmm.
letting yourself sort of enjoy some of the freedom that
Hmm.
creating your own business also allows you. Like, I think we spend so much time kind of like waiting for stuff to happen and kind of stuck in this like scarcity and fear
Hmm.
mindset. And then we don't really get to actually enjoy what we're actually creating. Um,
Right.
and the cool thing about like private practices is they're actually pretty easy businesses in a lot of ways. Like
Hmm.
there is a need for therapy. Like they are one of the businesses that is most likely to be successful. A lot of businesses, in other areas kind of have some more trouble, but with
Hmm.
private practice, like there are clients out there who are wanting this service. It's a known about service. It's good. So I think it's one thing I heard a supervisor once tell me is like, make the folders, like have them ready, because the clients are going to come, and they are going to come.
Hmm.
And it's a matter of kind of like enjoying what you have created in the time while you are waiting for them
Hmm.
to come to you, and of course, obviously doing the stuff, but if you're starting a private practice and you have some time and space to also like, okay, I did what I need to do and it's noon and maybe I go on a hike,
Yeah.
I have that freedom now
Hmm.
as I'm building this. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was such a shift for me from coming out of like working in these really horrible like agency jobs where it was like you were on call, you were on
Hmm.
24/7, or you were on call, or you were, yeah, it was just so all consuming, like soul consuming, time consuming, everything. It took everything
Hmm.
out of you to being like, oh, I'm creating this thing and now I have space, and me actually giving it some space to grow is beneficial for the business, because everything, we hold so tightly, like sometimes it
Hmm.
can be counterproductive, but it's also good for me. Like, we're building a business so that we can build a life we love. So as
Hmm.
we're doing this work of starting a business, it's important to like enjoy our lives as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I kind of needed to hear that myself.
Yeah.
I feel like as a society, um, it's not only pressured on us, but we pressure ourselves to just constantly like hustle. We
Yeah.
need to constantly do things, and we have to constantly be productive in like a number value.
Yeah.
It's like, the self-care and the self-love, it's coming back now, but I think for a long time it was almost frowned upon. It's lazy to sit there and enjoy the silence,
Mhm.
and you can't just wake up and have a slow morning. You have to wake up, shower, go to the gym, eat your breakfast, the one thing after another. Your schedule has to be booked, and you have
Right.
to do all this so that you can come home and relax for 15 minutes and then go to bed and wake up and do it all over again.
Yeah.
And there's so much joy in enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
Um, Again, Cameron Rosin, he teaches like neuroplasticity and whatnot. And something that I took away from him as well was to produce, I believe I know there's a difference between dopamine and serotonin.
Mhm.
um
Yeah.
but to produce, I believe, dopamine, it's produced in anticipation of something,
Mm.
and not so much the actual, grabbing of it. And so you get this happiness from anticipating something, from working towards something. And a lot of people don't realize that. And so they think they're going to achieve that happiness when they get it.
Yeah.
And so they're struggling and they're running themselves thin and just being stretched way too far because they think they're going to have their happiness when they get that result.
Yes.
But our brains are wired to have the happiness while we are getting the result.
Yeah.
And it's so important to recognize that and to enjoy it and to be in the moment. And don't, it's good to, focus on your goal,
Mhm.
but enjoy the steps that it takes to get there as well.
I think that is such a great, thing to point out, because I look back sort of on the building of my private practice and every step of the way. And I can genuinely say it's been one of the most fulfilling experiences of
Mm-hmm.
my life. Like, it has been, yeah, just such an incredible experience of like me relying on my inner resources, me growing, me seeking out support when I
Mm-hmm.
needed it, doing this thing that was very, it was like I was doing it all sort of, it was all for me, but also to help others. And so
Mm-hmm.
it felt like such a beautiful, and I think the only person in my family to kind of have my own business. So it felt
Mm-hmm.
like a very kind of revolutionary thing. And it was also rescuing myself from
Mm-hmm.
these very traumatic agency type jobs and sort of rewriting the story that I needed to be killing myself in order to be doing something valuable or worthy, or that I needed to be working super hard all the time to be a valuable member of society, to just create this thing of beauty that I get to help people and connect with people on a deep level every day.
Mhm.
But I also get to work the exact hours I want to work. I see
Mhm.
clients like 2.5 days a week, and I'm going to the beach, I'm doing other stuff. Like,
That's nice.
it is amazing.
Mhm.
It's one of the best jobs I think I could ever imagine. And I want that for other people. But the
Mhm.
building of it was such a beautiful experience too. Like, I look
Mhm.
back on those times of building it and feel, yeah, like it was just such the growth and the learning and everything. It's unlike any experience I've ever had in life, to build a
Yeah.
business like that. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
I feel very grateful for it, and I want that for other people as well.
Yeah, that's really wonderful because I'm in the same boat too of being the first person that I know of in my family to operate their own business or to start up. Everybody in my family is, the 9 to 5er who goes and works for somebody else.
Yeah.
And there's something really beautiful in having a business that pours into yourself and in a positive way pours into others as well.
Yeah.
Because when you think about a lot of, I would say the majority of work that people do, it's depressing. You're stuck in, a confined area with no windows, no sunlight. You're not valued as a person. I know so many times in the work that I've done in the past, I didn't feel like truly valued for who I was as a person. I was there to do a job and to get it done.
Yeah.
Um, and like my free time wasn't valued. There were jobs where I had to come in and, well, at least I thought, I know more now. Um, but we would come in on our days off and we would do trainings unpaid, or we would take work home with us and we would work and not get paid.
Mm.
If we were sick, we were still expected to come in, even though, I mean, I was working with kids. I could get these kids sick. I could get these other people
Oh,
sick. Then they can't do their jobs either.
yeah.
And I even seen, a little haha funny joke about it, this morning on Facebook about how, a kid, they get sick all the time and they're sick after so much and then they get the truancy letter. I know I got that as a child as well. I have a immune disorder.
Mm.
And so then, so that your parents, don't get in trouble, you got to go to school sick.
Oh,
And then the teacher gets sick.
yeah.
And then the teacher's trying to take their day off, but they can't because they had a day off last month,
Right. Right.
because they're around these sick issues. Like I work with walking petri dishes. Like
Mm.
how do you expect me to not get sick? You know?
Totally.
And
Totally.
I
Yeah.
remember one of my bosses even telling me like, you might need to talk to your doctor about some like immune support
Yeah.
because I was getting sick as a daycare worker. Um,
Mm.
but it was still, I don't know, it was just such a, and it wasn't so much that they were concerned for me, it was they were concerned that I wasn't coming into work every single day.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's just being able to actually think about yourself
Mm.
and to not go to work whenever physically shouldn't be. If you're sick and shouldn't be around people, don't go to work. But we live in a society where a lot of that is just pushed to the side and we're expected to show up and perform 100%. And people aren't getting raises and all kinds of that. And so whenever you have your own job, you can put yourself first. You
Yeah.
can get paid more whenever you do more work and, stuff like
Yes.
that.
Yeah, and another thing about what you said is like kind of like the mental health side of,
Mm,
like I'm thinking about, so, a lot of people coming out of grad school in for counseling tend to work these like very hard, low paying jobs in the process
mm-hmm,
of getting licensed. And that was my experience. I worked one job where I was going into people's homes and providing trauma counseling for survivors of sexual abuse, but mostly I was providing counseling to children in these homes who had sexually offended and acted out on someone else in the home. And then I was
Mhm.
doing a lot of like going to court with these kids. And that job was actually
That's
pretty,
hard.
it was hard, but it was very fulfilling. Um,
Huh.
but I did, because of the pressure of that job, I did,
Mhm.
really struggle. It was a precipitating event for kind of really struggling with some pretty serious insomnia, which I
Mhm.
also do a lot of insomnia work around insomnia. So that was a really intense, hard time. And then after that, I worked as a supervisor in a group home for kids who could not be placed in foster care, and it was kind of like almost like an orphanage, but these kids were between 8 and 10, and
Mm.
really struggled with like suicidality, and also like a lot of different behaviors. I would be beaten up all the time. Like it was
Mm.
a very draining job that was not fulfilling because it was so hard. And both of these jobs really um, affected my mental health in huge
Mhm.
ways. Like I was coming home every night crying,
Mhm.
hating my life, having no time for myself. And I believe that I maybe wasn't even able to provide the best care that I could have provided
Mhm.
because of how these jobs affected me. And I'm glad, like especially the first job I talked about, I'm glad that I did that and I had that experience. But um, that was something that I don't think is a humane, like,
Mm-mm.
condition for like, especially that second job was not a way that any of us should have to
No.
be in our work. So I was, I really took a leap and kind of quit that job, and had sort of like a very low level, a friend sort of helped me out. I did some computer work for him as I built my private practice. And
Mhm.
yeah, I'm so proud of myself for doing that.
Nice.
And I just want to kind of inspire anyone who is listening, who's thinking about taking a leap into entrepreneurship, and especially therapists who are thinking about starting a private practice, like,
Mhm.
you can do it.
Mhm.
And it is the most rewarding journey you will go on. It doesn't mean it's not incredibly hard, but I do believe it is worth it to live a
Mhm.
life on your own terms.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I mean, that work that you did, helping the sexual abuse survivors and the children, it's so valuable and it's so necessary. It's really unfortunate the things that, people are going through these days, especially kids, but it's so important to also put your mental health first whenever you are working with things like this, because it's really triggering and it's really hard to hear, and it's taxing on your mental health.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because there's so much help that needs to be done and not as much helpers.
Mhm.
And so you have to be stretched thin in order to be there. And it's unfortunate. And so whenever we do our own private practice, we can set aside that time,
Yeah.
um, to make sure, because like you said, you can't give 100% of yourself if you're not taking care of yourself.
Yes.
I really like to not focus, but emphasize the actual ripple effect
Mhm.
that happens whenever you do take care of yourself,
Yeah.
because you're able to pour from a cup of abundance
Mm.
rather than an empty cup.
Right.
Because we have learned how to pour from an empty cup. They say you can't do it. I have done it
Oh, women do it all the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
As a mother to a 2-year-old, I feel like I have to pour from an empty cup pretty often.
Right.
Um, and that's not fair to us. And it really does create that ripple effect,
Yes.
because as you're 100% self, you can give 100% whenever you need to.
Yeah.
That's really important. And I definitely want to hear more about the insomnia, because we did discuss that before.
Yeah.
And I know that you have some not so common ways
Hmm.
of dealing with that. And I know a lot of people suffer from insomnia.
Yeah.
And so I'm really interested in what you did to tackle that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So insomnia was a big struggle for me for most of my life, I would say. It
Hmm.
really got bad during that time that I was working the job with the kids who had acted out. And I was really nervous about driving. I was terrified about the amount of sleep I was, not getting because I was
Hmm.
getting 0 hours a night a lot, or maybe
Hmm.
1 or 2. And I was terrified of losing my job. It felt like
Hmm.
so much pressure. And I literally tried everything. Like I tried, every supplement, every medication. I went to the doctors. I did acupuncture. I did different kinds of yoga. I did blackout curtains, noise machines. Every kind of
Yeah.
relaxation and meditation exercise under the sun, every kind of routine. I tried CBTI. None of it worked for me. And actually, it made me more anxious. And what I came to understand through eventually many years later, working with another coach was that what had happened, what was going on in the insomnia, and this is what's going on with all insomnia, is that there's a precipitating event that can kind of start this spiral of insomnia where maybe we have some stress and we don't sleep very much for one night, and then that's okay, but maybe we have another night and we don't sleep, and then another night, and then we kind of start to get a little freaked out, and we're like, okay, what's going on? Like, why am I not sleeping? And
Hmm.
then we start to really focus on the fact that we're not sleeping and
Hmm.
trying tons of stuff in order to make our bodies sleep. So the more we do that, the more actually hyper aroused we get and the more afraid we get of not sleeping. So
That makes sense.
what I work with, with some clients on this is about really embracing wakefulness rather than doing anything, rather than trying to make yourself sleep. Like really, like when you are awake, accepting that you're awake and doing things that feel fun or at least just can help you pass the time of being
Hmm.
awake. Also, not trying to chase sleep. So, letting go of all the efforts you might have of like doing stuff like routines or taking medications or whatever it is to try and make sleep happen. So,
Hmm.
it is a very different approach. But it's the one thing that saved me. And now, like I sleep, I just sleep. I don't see sleeping as like this huge deal. It's like a process
Hmm.
of my body, like breathing or blinking. Uh,
Yeah.
so I want that for everyone. But starting a private practice and being in private practice, I also felt a lot of the time like pressure to sleep, to perform, to be, on for my clients. I now know that sleeping doesn't determine my performance. I had great days in my private practice on very, very little sleep.
Hmm.
And so I no longer like fear being awake. I no longer fear not sleeping. But I do believe that having a private practice and having the finances to invest in a coach and also the space to kind of invest in myself really did help me
Hmm.
heal from this. And it helped me take some major risks also in my life with being an international therapist now, and starting a new business and all of that stuff. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, it has been just this kind of journey of healing. And I know that's what your whole your whole podcast is
Hmm.
about. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel lucky to have you know, to have had the hardships and, be able to help people through them now and
Hmm.
to have grown myself. So, yeah, it's just such a
I love that.
blessing to be in this field of helping others, as you were saying before.
Yeah. I like that because So you mentioned you overcame your insomnia by kind of like not focusing on it so much and not,
Yes.
oh yeah, not having that hyper focus.
Yeah.
And something that I've learned along my healing journey, I learned it whenever I was taking a conscious discipline class as a toddler teacher.
Oh, cool.
um, she said that what you focus on, you get more of.
Yes.
And you can apply that to just about anything. She applied it to children's negative behavior. You keep focusing on their negative behavior, you're going to get more negative behavior.
Totally.
And I think that goes right along with you. You keep focusing on not getting sleep, and you keep focusing on, you know, how much your day is sucking because you didn't get enough sleep, and look at what you got less sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
You stayed right there with what you were focusing on. And then like you also said, you got that kind of like that arousal to your body because your brain, it's firing all these different ways trying to figure out how to sleep,
Yeah.
that it can't just sleep.
Yes.
um because that's definitely a very different approach and not what I was expecting your answer to be. I figured you were going to say, spray magnesium on your feet every
No.
night before bed, or take a
No.
magnesium pill, or
Right. I encourage my
stop the
clients
screen time.
to stop all of that, because those
Yeah.
have been things that they have learned to do, um,
Mhm.
to make themselves sleep. But if you think about people who sleep well, it's not like they have like hacked some perfect
No.
routine or spraying the perfect magnesium or whatever. Like
Mm-mm.
they're like on their phones until they pass out. Like they're not thinking about sleep and
No.
not doing all these like obsessive routines to try and control their sleep. That
Mhm.
makes us more hyper aroused. That's just, more scared. And so like I, have worked with people to help them like let go of those things and stop doing those things
Mhm.
actively. So those
It
that's
makes
the things that
sense.
keep us stuck. Yeah, in the
Yeah.
cycle. I even
Yeah.
think of it like the routines are kind of like, for like an alcoholic or something, they're almost or for someone with OCD, they're like one of the behaviors, they
Mhm.
are they're the things that keep us believing there's a problem that we need to, it's too much to feel or to bear,
Mhm.
and the more we resist something, the more we say we can't have something, like you said, the more we're going to have that thing.
Mhm. And it really makes sense because you can't sleep if you're stressed about something. There's so many people that lay awake at night stressed about other areas in their life,
Yeah.
and being stressed out about not sleeping is stress.
Yeah.
And if you can't fall asleep stressed out about a money situation, you can't fall asleep stressed out about not sleeping either.
Yeah.
So yeah, just relaxing, let it go, let the
Mhm.
sleep come when it comes, and go on about your day the next day, and then it comes around again, and yeah, that makes sense because I've also struggled with insomnia.
Mm.
And so, because I have ADHD,
Yeah.
in case you can't tell, um, but I've tried things like melatonin, and I never liked it because I felt more like drowsy whenever I woke up than if I just got a crappy night's sleep.
Yes.
Um, and
Totally.
then having a baby, and then also being a breastfeeding mom, sleep has just not been my thing
Mhm.
for a minute. And I don't struggle with insomnia now. I can sleep as long as I'm not being woke up.
Yeah.
But during my pregnancy and such, there were times where I definitely had insomnia. And the only thing that got me through it was just getting through it.
Yes.
I didn't put on any band-aids and stuff. I was too scared to whenever I was pregnant. I didn't want to take any medication like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, even though I know you can, I don't want anybody to think that you can't. There is, but
Mhm.
I preferred not to myself. But yeah, that's how I got through my insomnia as well, was just getting through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's, I think more people need to know about that. And,
Mm-hmm.
because we're fed a lot of if I can cuss. I don't know if I can.
Yeah, whatever you want to say.
I was going to say we're fed a lot of bullshit about,
Yeah,
what to do
yeah.
when we
We've
have,
had a lot of bullshit everywhere.
yeah, totally are.
But especially around that. I mean, you can go anywhere and get sleep medicine.
Yes.
So it's at the dollar store.
Yes.
Um,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I like that. Is there anything else that you want to chat about before we hop off here?
Yeah. No, I mean, this has been really great.
Yeah.
I just like want to encourage any therapists who are thinking about, starting a private practice, that it is really possible to do it. It's possible
Hmm.
to have a great life where you're also working with the people that you really want to work with. I really didn't think it was like going to be possible
Yeah.
for me. And I know we kind of touched on the imposter syndrome. Like, I thought like, well, all these other people have done it, but, maybe I can't. And it's
Hmm.
been kind of beyond my wildest dreams. And it's, it's something that is just very doable. So I
Yeah.
want to, encourage anyone who's like doubting themselves or who's feeling like it's not growing at the rate it should, to like, think about getting some help, and also that it is totally possible, and it is a matter of like sticking with it and doing
Hmm.
some of the right strategy as well.
Absolutely. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how can they do so? What's the best
Yeah.
way?
My Instagram handle is The Liberated Therapist. And I also have a Facebook group that I would love, yeah, for people to join. It
Okay.
is, um, I think you're gonna link it, but the
Yeah.
group
I will
itself,
link everything.
yeah, is um, Liberated Therapy Practice, is the kind of backslash after, you know, Facebook group. So
Hmm.
it's called, yeah, if you search Liberated Therapist, it should be in there. So
Awesome.
yeah, would love to, chat with anyone who is interested, and offer a free 45-minute call to just talk about, your practice and what you're kind of looking for and needing help with, and your goals. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, like I said, I will make sure that I have all that linked in the bottom. Well, the description of the bio. Sorry. Yeah, it was a wonderful time chatting with you today.
So great chatting with you, Ivy. This is a great podcast. I'm so excited for everything you're doing as well.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.